Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon to talk all about apps. We have some experts that are going to be sharing with you today, but I just wanted to go over a few logistics before I hand it over to them. Today is meant to be kind of driven by all of you. So whatever questions you have, please drop them in the chat. You'll see the option to click on chat at the very bottom of your screen, and you can type in questions to the whole group or to specific people. So if you have a specific question for one of the experts or for myself, feel free to just post it to us or post it to everyone. I tend to think posting your questions to everyone is better, because then we all can kind of jump in and give our best practices. I will be monitoring that to make sure that our experts kind of know where to go with today's learning session. In addition, you are all around already, I can tell, because you're all muted and your cameras are off, so that we can be mindful of the trainings that are going to be, the education that's going to occur at this time. So just be making sure that you're muted and your camera's off, so that we can learn best together. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Michelle Thorne and Cara McFarland, and they will introduce themselves as well as the content that they will be talking about. But please, if at any point you have a question, drop it in the chat window and we will make sure that we address that. And then at the end, I will give you your PDH link so that you can receive your 1 hour credit for joining us today. So Michelle and Cara, do you want to take over from here?
Sure thing.
There we go.
All right, so let me get my screen set.
Well, I don't know. Before you share, do you want me to introduce myself, Cara?
Yes.
Okay, so just really quick, and then I'll hop off video so Cara can end up sharing the screen. My name is Michelle Thorne, and I am one of the instructional coaches for Orland School District 135 with Cara. We're hoping that today we will be able to kind of give you some basic insights to things that might help you as we all embark on this e-learning adventure together. And then our contact information that you can definitely reach out to us at any time, you know, with tips that you have or things that we can even help you with and guide you along as we all learn together on this. And Cara, I'll let you go.
All right, my name's Cara McFarland. I'm an instructional technology coach in Orland School District 135 with Michelle. And happy to be here with you and share some of our experience with you and some of our favorite tools and some tips. So we'll get started with Assistive Touch. Now, all of this content will be broadcast through iPad, but is also available on other things except for Assistive Touch right now. So I will be focusing on the iPad part of Apple, but then we will talk about some options on the MacBook as well. I don't know how many of you use Assistive Touch. We've got a screenshot here with some directions that I'm going to go through more step by step now. But what's really nice is I can just tap this little touch icon on my screen and I have some shortcuts. So we'll go through setting that up real quick for those of you that don't know how. And to get that set up, you go through your settings. And this makes a nice little pointer too. Can you see it as a pointer?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Lindsay. So over here in your settings, like you scroll down to accessibility. This is nice when you're back in your classroom as well. You can use it as a pointer when you have when you're projecting your iPad. So you scroll down to accessibility, and then over here in the physical and motor area, there's a section called touch. In touch, it's called assistive touch. And I don't know how your cases are in your district, but in our district, the cases are tough, which is good because it protects the iPad. However, it's really hard to press those volume buttons, and especially the power button to get a screenshot. Like you have to press the power button and the home button to get a screenshot, and our little ones, they have a hard time with that. So you can set your, it's called your top level menu of how you want it to be. And so you can change these. I have screenshot as one of my assistive touch options. to make it easier, because I was getting frustrated, like our students would get frustrated trying to take a screenshot and all of a sudden it would power off or try to restart. And so having this here helps. It's just a one touch instead of trying to hold down two things at the same time. I also have my volume up and volume down. On my case, it's really hard to press the volume buttons, and so this saves my fingers some indentations. Then you can do home button here as well. There's other options. You can add an option, and then when the plus sign comes up, you can choose a lot of different choices there. So Assistive Touch has come in really handy for us, and when we shared it with teachers, they've really enjoyed those shortcuts as well, and especially having it available as a pointer when they project their iPad up on the screen. And then if you have any questions at any time during this presentation, feel free to go in the chat room and type those in, and then Lindsay can interject with those questions as I'm presenting, and I can stop and answer those questions for you, or Michelle can answer those questions as well. For this distance learning experience, which is so new to everyone, the ability to record your screen to create tutorials for your students is so powerful, and it's a very intuitive built-in option on the iPads. On the Mac, you would use the QuickTime video option or program on the Mac computers, but I'm going to focus on the iPad since that's what I'm projecting from. With the iPad, you would need to have it set in your settings in the control center. So in the control center, you would need to make sure that it's an option. If it's not one of your options, then you would find it at the bottom and press the green circle with the plus sign. I'm not sure what people's experience is with the screen recordings, so I'll just talk about it a little bit. With screen recordings, I can't show you live how to do a screen recording because right now the Zoom camera is broadcasting through my screen recording option. So we have a screenshot here, and it's that circle with the circle. So like there's a circle inside a circle there, and you would tap that, and there's a hidden thing that a lot of people miss the first time that they do a screen recording, and then after they finished talking and explaining everything, they play it back and there's no sound because the microphone is automatically muted upon starting. So you hold down that little circle inside the circle and then you tap the microphone to turn it on. And then you can go from there and you can narrate while you're doing what you're doing on the iPad. When you're done, there's a little red icon at the top of your screen that you would press to stop recording. And that would go right to your photos, your camera roll on your iPad. So I'll say that again. This little circle inside the circle. And you want to check and make sure your microphone is on. Once your microphone is on, you can press start recording. It gives you like a 3-second countdown, and then it starts recording your screen and your voice if your microphone is on. And when you're done, at the top, there's a little red oval with a stop signal inside of it, and you tap that, and it will go to your camera roll. Pardon me. Then when you do the playback in your camera roll, what we found this year is a newer feature. It's automatically muted upon playback, so you want to look for that little speaker to make sure you can hear it. So in the photos, when you play back a video after recording, it's automatically muted. And so you just need to press that little speaker icon to turn your volume on to be able to hear that. Are there any questions about screen recordings on the iPad?
And I think just to mention one other thing, I know it was mentioned in the chat and then also with the screen that you can see as well. If you are a MacBook user and that's kind of your device that you're comfortable with making screen recordings on, QuickTime would be your best option. Some people may use other extensions like Screencast-O-Matic, but QuickTime will also offer that, where you can make a screen recording for your students and then be able to save that and share it out. Very similar to what you could do with the iPad as well.
I also wanted to add that these are so convenient to create, also so useful for not only our learners, but parents as well. So for example, if you're asking your parents to access, things like Seesaw or Flipgrid, by making a screen recording and sharing that video, because you can email that video easily out, the parents now have like a starting point. They're not just trying to navigate, an infographic or a paragraph explaining it. They can actually see where to touch the buttons and how to get themselves and their students logged on. And if we can alleviate any stress or remove any obstacles for our parents and our families, I think that, is something that we want to look into doing. And I don't know, Michelle, Cara, if you have a preference, but for me, 2-minute videos, maybe 3 minutes max. Any longer just seems to be a little bit too lengthy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think usually what I recommend to teachers is to try not to go over that 3-minute mark, just for attention spans. And sometimes there are situations where steps do take a little bit longer, but then I tend to kind of break them up into like a part 1 and a part 2 of a getting started. Okay, now you're in, let's look at that second video. And especially with Zoom and having to do a lot of the virtual communication that way now with our students, we have found it, just like Lindsay said, very helpful to be able to create the screen recordings, and then that way families can have them to walk through with their kids at home, because chances are they've never even logged into a Zoom call before. So it becomes, just builds that confidence up at home.
Yes, and pardon me, with that assistive touch icon that we showed before, that can be a pointer during your screen recordings, because it can be hard to accentuate an area with words. So you can move that around, and it records while you're recording your screen. So that's another little tip too. And again, the more clear and simple you can be in your directions, the better it will be to follow. You don't want to get too wordy, because then you'll lose your audience and the viewer will get lost in the words. So we have found screen recordings to be very powerful, especially in this time when maybe the students haven't used Keynote before, or Clips, and this can be a quick little tutorial of how to use it, and they can watch that and figure it out.
That's a great point too, Cara. Like having your learners do screen recordings to demonstrate their understanding as well. So not just making the tutorial videos, but maybe even putting the onus back on them, whether it's to show that, they understand something, or maybe to help troubleshoot. We're not there in person, so we're kind of this virtual tech support. So if they're saying, I can't get on, or I can't submit for some reason, having them do a screen recording and sharing that with you so you can kind of troubleshoot a little bit easier is a good alternative as well.
Definitely. It's so hard with the distance learning to not be next to that student to see what's happening on their screen. So when they can make a screen recording, and we have some direction resources we can share as well on how to do a screen recording. And this presentation will be shared afterwards. But when your students can create a screen recording, this is what I'm trying and this is what's happening, then you can see it better, or your tech support can see it better. So teaching your students how to use the screen recording tools can be a powerful asset in the troubleshooting and problem solving area. Okay, one of our favorite apps is Apple Clips. I don't know how familiar people are with Apple Clips. It's a great resource for making videos pop, like short videos. It has music built in, it has some title posters built in, some different effects, some filters, and it can be not too hard to explain or use. We've had preschoolers and kindergartners use it. So we find that it's a pretty versatile program. You can pull in your pictures and your videos, and you can create videos and pictures inside of there. We have an infographic, pardon me, on the side here that Michelle created about creating with Apple Clips. Like you can pull in the camera, use the camera live, you can pull in library, which is your camera roll, and you can pull in what they have is called posters. You can also use live text, which is like captioning, like closed captions. So while you're recording, if you have live text on, it's typing what you're recording. So the students are seeing it and hearing it. So it's a bit of reading reinforcement, but also if anyone has a hearing impairment, then they have the option to read it if they can't hear you. And that's a good tool to use with your students who might not be as clear as others. And that could be used for speech as well. Was the device able to comprehend what you were saying? Were they able to translate it well into text? So I'm going to go through.
Hey, Cara, I don't mean to interrupt you. Oh, there we go. Do you want to pull that slide maybe up one more time really quick? I think it was frozen on the screen recording.
Oh.
I didn't want to interrupt you mid-conversation.
Okay, is it there?
There we go. Now we can see it.
Thank you. You know, I have had some messages today about internet connection disruption. So I wonder if when I switched the slide, if it just got a little hiccup there. Pardon me for clearing my throat again. So with Apple Clips, there are a lot of options in there, and I'll just go through some of those, but there's the accessibility part of it with the live text is really neat for our students that need some adaptation, not adaptations, some accommodations.
Extra supports. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna head over to Clips. And again, this presentation will be shared with you afterwards. And I'm going to go to the top here and start a new one. Oh, hello. And just show you that this area here is the posters, and that's where you can get like a title. And there's a lot there to choose from, and some of them move. And so I can choose like the silent movie one. And you can change the text in there by tapping and changing the words. Now, this is not set in your project. To set it in your project, you have to hold down this red bar for however long you want it to appear in your project.
I think usually we recommend to students, you know, about 3 seconds or so, depending on how long the animation is that shows up on the title screen.
Yes. Then you are ready for your next scene. You can use your camera to record live, or you can go to your library and choose something that you've already saved. And if you wanted to add some effects, there are some effects in here with some text, like day 1 isolation or quarantine day 1. Any of these texts you can change. So I can and then oops. After you apply it, you can like move it around and reposition it, and you can tilt it. There's some stickers in here, and they have some Disney stickers built in. So here's Mickey and Minnie quarantined and still in love. We've got some emojis there and some filters. So this is where the students can have some creative fun. There's a lot of creative options in here. Now this is not in my clips yet. This is not in my video. So the video is made of a series of clips, which thus the name Clips. And so now I can hold down that red bar there again to add that. And my voice would record over that as well. If I tap the scene or the clip, I have some editing options here. One of the options is mute, and that will mute my voice over that. If you import a video, you can mute the background of that video. You can mute the original sound from a video. I'll show you that part. So I go to my library and let's see if I have a video here. Okay, so I can hold this down. And when I tap, so I held down that red record bar to get that into my project down here. And when I tap that clip, I can choose mute. And this is where I have the recorded audio or the original video. And I can mute both of those. And I can tap done to get back to my project. I can, if I wanted to maybe put that in and trim it, like he hesitated before he started shaking his head yes and no. I can do that here as well in that clip. I can tap trim and I can trim out the part that I don't need. So you can edit in here as well, your clips. You're like, oh, I didn't mean to record that long. You can trim off part of that. The live titles. You would turn on here with the speech bubble and lines. And then choose your style. And as you are recording, it will type what you are saying. So now I can hold down this red bar again and record. This is my bird, and he loves to dance. I don't think I was loud enough or clear enough on that. Let me play it back and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't get to dance in there. I can edit that. I tap on my clip again, and then live titles here. So this is my bird and he loves, now I can actually type in the rest, to dance. And I can close that and play it again.
Yeah.
So that is live titles. Live titles doesn't always hear things the way that you think you said them, or it doesn't interpret things properly. So you can just tap on that clip and tap live titles and change the words to what they should be. And
I was going to just say, I think it's important to note too that the live titles themselves will only show up in videos that were recorded inside of clips. So whether it's a video that you made in clips that you want to go back, like as a small clip and add the live titles on, you can turn them back on. But you can't pull something from camera roll that has audio and just automatically turn the live titles on themselves.
yes, excellent point. Thank you, Michelle. They need to be recorded live in clips to have the live titles option. Okay, when you're all done with your presentation, your movie project, or even before you're done, you can add music with their built-in sound library. You can choose soundtracks, and they have a lot of free use options here for you that you can choose from. And you can just tap it and listen. And see if that's what you want to use. And if so, you just tap the back arrow, it applies it. And what's really nice is it adjusts to the length of your video and makes it match however long your video is. And now if I added another clip, like, nope. Let's try that again. Library, this one. So here my bird and I are pretending like we're in Harry Potter. When I hold down this to record it, that music will continue throughout that part that I just added. So that's a nice part too. Michelle, is there anything else to add with clips?
No, I mean, I think a lot of that is just, you know, a lot of our teachers like it just because of how easy it is to use both on the teacher end and the student end, especially with when it comes to our distance learning now. Many of the teachers in our district are using this just for their welcome messages too, to make something for the day and post it either onto Seesaw or Google Classroom. So it's a great way just to add some extra, I guess, color and flair, but then also thinking of those live titles that Cara talked about to really try and make the videos accessible for all different types of learners.
Lindsay, you've used clips before. Is there anything else that you would add?
I love clips, and it is really user-friendly, but the other cool thing is you don't have to know everything about it. You can just kind of send your kids on their way and create some really incredible things with it. When I am making clips on my phone, I love to use the scenes option because it fills in a background for me, but that's only available, I think, Michelle, on specific.
Correct. Yeah, just on the iPhones, but then I think it has to be like iPhone X and above, I believe, in order to see the scenes. But it would show up right down kind of towards the bottom under where you see Cara's picture, the camera library posters area. That's where the scenes would show up right down there.
And that's just cool because it fills in a background for you. So if you're making, I know a lot of the teachers at Michelle and Cara's school, they're making kind of like these "Where is Mrs. So-and-so today" videos. So they have to kind of do some research and analyze the video that is being sent to them from their teacher based on their background that they've kind of green screened in. But if you don't have a green screen or with green screen, the scenes option on the phone really does all of the work for you, and it's pretty cool.
Nice. I did forget to show how to save this when you're done. When you're done, we call this the Shero. Oops, I just put my thing over it. So the over down here in the bottom right corner, we call that the Shero, the square with the arrow. And you just select your Shero and you do save video and it saves right to your camera roll, and then you can share it out from there. Are there any questions in the chat area about clips?
Nope. I don't see any questions so far.
And I think it's just also a really great, just a quick resource to use too, especially, you know, for any age level, but even like doing a scavenger hunt at home, looking for things of, you know, shapes or numbers, parallel lines, things like that, that they can look for those in real world examples and then be able to stick them into a video and still demonstrate the content that they're having to review. You know, it's just another way that they can create with, but not intimidating.
And then they can label things in their clips video as well. So once they've taken the clip or even beforehand, they can go to effects and they can choose that text and they can label parts like beak, oops, spell it right. So if they're looking for things around the house that represent a vocabulary word, they can put vocabulary words in there. If they made a Rube Goldberg machine and they want to identify the different types of simple machines that made up their complex machine, they can take a picture of it and then they can insert the labels in here as a video. This is where the lever was and this is where the pulley was, and they work together to create this machine that carries out this task. So they can do that as well, and that can be done after the video clip was taken or before, and they can have some vocabulary built in, some labeling of concepts, and so on and so forth. Okay, next is Keynote. I don't know how familiar people are with Keynote.
I think the slide might be frozen again, sort of. I see like a mixture of both.
Okay, let me go back again. Is it there?
There we go.
Okay. So Keynote has a lot of creativity features built in as well, and some options that can be used for at-home learning. One thing that we've used with our teachers and our students is a Keynote bingo, and I can't remember the first person that created one. Michelle and I learned about it at a training out east, and we had seen it shared on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, there's an Apple EDU chat tonight that I'm sure we'll be talking about in a little bit. So we encourage you to join those. Twitter is a great place where people share resources, and we'll talk about some other places for resources as well. But in Keynote, you can create choice boards and bingo boards and send those to your students and give them some choice on which activities they want to use or from that menu. And then you can use image placeholders for their evidence. So I'll go into that a little bit. So this is one that we had created for a staff training. And we have put these placeholders in here in a grid. It's not a true bingo style because it's not 5 by 5, it's 5 by 4. But there were certain things, this was like a getting to know you activity for our staff, but this could be a scavenger hunt your students take around their house. They're looking for, like for the primary levels, looking for words that start with the hard A, with the soft A, and this could be a family fun activity. This could be even like math in the real world. Find a right angle in your home, find an obtuse angle in your home, find an acute angle in your home, etc. And so all of these, if you notice, they have a little plus sign here, which means it's a placeholder, and the student can just take the plus, tap that plus sign and add a picture from their camera roll, or they can take a photo, one moment, or video live in there. So I can take a photo or video live there and turn my camera. Wow, that's crazy. Wonderful for all to see. There we go. So that's something that can be done with these placeholders, and all it takes to set it up is to put in a picture and then tap it. Go to your paintbrush up here for formatting, and in the image section, set it as a placeholder. So when you set it as a placeholder, it gives the students somewhere to insert their picture. It's a set space. It's just all you have to do is add the plus sign. They don't have to sit there and figure out how to add a picture in or how to take a picture in there. They just do that plus sign, then they have the option of taking a picture or adding a picture. And that's again in the paintbrush for formatting in the image section, and it's called add a placeholder or set placeholder. Right now it says clear placeholder. And so we just put some squares in from the shapes. Like if you go to the plus sign, we love the shapes in Keynote. There are so many different shapes to choose from, and that would be in this area here. So we use the shapes to set our areas in the grid, but then we also put in a picture because you need to have a picture in order for that to become a picture placeholder. And that would be from your photos. So you would have, and we just had a picture here saved, like of a camera as an icon. There are some great icon websites out there that you can use for grabbing some icons with transparent backgrounds. And so we just got a camera icon there to represent this is where you would put a picture. And then after we put the camera icon in, which was already set up for you, then you do that formatting of the placeholder. So again, you put in a picture, then you go to the paintbrush. Oops, you gotta be on the picture. And then image and set placeholder. And that's just something that can be done for that photo evidence of a task. And that's something that could be fun with your students for home learning. Michelle, would you like to add anything?
Besides like icons, you can also make the shapes like an actual picture. So if you were just to put a shape on the screen, you would not be able to use it as a placeholder. But if you're wanting to get creative, and let's say if you're familiar with multitasking on the iPad and you pull up photos in a window next to it.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
Yeah, like open the Photos app so that they're side by side.
Okay, let me get to photos. Thank you.
There we go.
There we go.
And then if you drag that shape right onto that photo screen, or no, well, you could do it that way. I meant drag the shape onto your photos.
Oh. Let's undo that. Okay.
So let's say that you found a camera. You should be, well, where'd your shape go to?
I think you have to drag the photo over onto the shape.
Yeah, but you can also take the shape and drag it into the photos and make a shape into a picture.
Okay, I am not experienced with that version of it. I'm usually this other version. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So what we can do is we'll put a link. I can make a quick video and stick that into the slideshow that Lindsay will make available. If you're wanting just to learn how to do that, so that way you can use the icons that are inside and turn those into placeholders. Because I think if you mask it like that, it won't let you make a placeholder out of it. It's just a masked shape. You could try. Oh, it did work that way. Well, there you go.
There we go. And that could be for a task of finding furniture or something.
But you can make placeholders on the MacBook as well. So if you open up Keynote on your MacBook, you create the same similar type of board. The nice thing about a lot of the tools between the iPad and the Mac version of it is all the icons are pretty similar. So when you're on the Mac, if you end up pulling up the same thing, add a picture in Keynote, go to that paintbrush, you'll be able to format that as a placeholder as well.
Lindsay, do you have anything to add to this for Keynote?
I was just going to ask you to maybe share some places that you like to get some other icons or copyright-free images from, if you'd like to utilize them in Keynote, so that we're not just grabbing them off of Google, but we're actually practicing some good digital citizen.
Okay, so one of my favorites is flaticon.com, and they give you the accreditation information. So after you use a one of their icons, they tell you how to credit the source, and you can recolor things. There's, Michelle, what's that other one that we've used too for icons?
I usually always go to Flat Icon. I know there was like the Noun Project, right? Weren't those icons? I think that you can.
Yes.
The other one,
as well.
colors in, and I can't remember. Flat Icon is usually my go-to. And as far as like images that are common use, fair use, I tend to go to Pixabay or Pexels. And again, they give the information on how to credit the source. It's so important to practice that with our students and model that for our students. Any presentation that you share with your students and you have given credit to the author of an image or the owner of an image, just reinforces the need for that and just models that for your students. They see it there and they're like, oh, they gave credit to the person that took that picture. And we should really be in good habit of doing that so that our students hopefully are in good habit of doing that. And we need to emphasize that when our students are using pictures as well.
And I know we've really tried to encourage a lot this year. You know, the best way that you can kind of go around this is just to be your own artist and create your own, so that way it is your unique original piece of work if possible.
Thank you. I've dropped all of those links in the chat so that people can refer to them later, but I think that's a really great piece of advice, Michelle, is again, just use these tools to create. That's the best way that we get comfortable with them, and it's a great model for our students as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I love all the creativity options and just using things and thinking outside the box and trying to think of things differently. And I mean, we can send our students an article to read and questions to answer, but giving some sort of choice board or scavenger hunt or bingo board would make that experience more interactive for them and more engaging. All right. Anything else about Keynote, Michelle?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of other features that are inside that can really help with the creation at home. You know, iPad version, you have the drawing tools that are available in there. So whether if you have to make a video for students to follow along with math that comes to mind, That's another great option that you can utilize, or maybe it's a photo that they need to take and annotate on top of it, so that way they can identify some important pieces as well. Those are always great options to have. The drawing tools are not available via the Mac side of it, but there are programs like the Preview app that will allow you to draw on top of something and then take that image and put it into Keynote. But what the iPad side does, which is a little bit further as well, is being able to then take those drawings and add animations to them. So again, focusing on the creation of content and students able to make their own original pieces of work. They can make anything from slideshows to animations, and then be able to even export them as videos or GIFs that they can share out to show their learning too, which is one thing that I've really started to love even more about Keynote, in the availability of export options that are in there. So, the creation is almost endless that you can do.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to head back to our presentation, and we wanted to take a moment to highlight the Apple teacher community. Anyone that's using Apple products, if you have not become an Apple teacher, we highly recommend it. It's a great learning process to get another feather in your cap, but also practice those skills and see what you know about it and what you still need to learn. And they have resources there for learning more about those. So they go through the different apps like GarageBand and iMovie and Keynote. And what's really nice too is they have the Apple Teacher Learning Center with resources. So they have resources with templates, and they have ideas, and they're building that all the time and adding to it. And once you're signed up for Apple Teacher, then there's like a little news area, and they will give you the topic for the Apple EDU Twitter chat with the questions in advance. So you can see them in advance and think about how you're going to answer them before the Twitter chat. I don't know if anyone out there has participated in an Apple EDU chat, but we have been able to connect with people that from around the world that have been able to help us develop resources, but have shared resources as well, and shared ideas. And tonight's learning chat is about remote learning. How appropriate. But I think it also has an emphasis on like wellness and self-care during this time, and how many of us could benefit from that. So that's every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Central. That's us, we're Central. And it's a great way to connect with other people in the Apple community. Michelle, would you like to say something else about the Apple EDU chat?
Well, if you're supposed to be on that slide, it's frozen again.
Oh.
But I think one thing that has definitely changed over the last year is they're wanting to listen to teachers, and they're updating content that's on there and really trying to now pool it as more of a resource bank, because so many educators are sharing templates now for Apple that it's starting to become that almost housed community of where you can go to find some of those ideas. As Cara mentioned, with the chat that is going on later today, it's usually at 8 p.m. Central Time. Again, another way of tons of links that can get shared out that you can just take and use and put them right back into your classroom. So that's the one great thing about the community, is they're definitely big on sharing, and then also a great tool for support. I don't think there's been one time where I haven't had a question that I've asked on there that went unanswered, because someone is always so willing, as long as you tag that hashtag in there, someone will reach out and offer feedback.
And I know IDEA Illinois always has fantastic Twitter chats as well. So hopefully you've connected on those, because anytime you can connect, to me, Twitter is such a powerful tool to connect with other teachers and to network and be able to just become stronger together. And when I need an idea, I can reach out to them, or they're sharing ideas. And so hopefully you are on Twitter and have connected with the IDEA Illinois chats, but then also have will connect with the Apple EDU chat if you haven't. Are there any questions in the chat room or chat area?
Just someone that, was it Deanna, that shared one of her favorite ways. If you didn't see that in the chat, of using it with second grade for compound words and having them work in pairs. and being able to respond to the words that were written on the board, and then one student saying, and so it is a great way that you can add that in for fluency practice with the audio buttons, even at a distance learning side, and then also that visual component as well.
Yes, forgot about the audio buttons in Keynote.
And a lot of times too, what I've had students do, if they're Seesaw users, is once they're done with that Keynote, if they have audio or anything in it, if they export that Keynote as a video, they can put that right into most learning platforms, and then everyone else can either share if it's a community where you can look at it, or it can be shared directly back to the teacher.
Great point, yes. All right, I believe that's our last slide.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ladies have any iBooks that you are, fond of? I know that there's the Everyone Can Create series, but are there any iBooks worth looking into that you would recommend?
I'll let you field that one, Michelle.
I feel like there's so many that are out there now, for anyone that's looking to get started. That Everyone Can Create series, which a lot of people talk about, is really fantastic. What I can do is also put a link in the slideshow as well, because I have it up on my iPad. There's been other Apple Distinguished Educators from another state that have even put together a 20 Keynote Creations template book that is an iBook that has things that you can just download right away and take off and run with it. So I'll put the links for that in there. If I have it on my Mac, I'll stick it into the chat, but I know I definitely have it on my iPad. But a lot of times, if you just even search through the iBook store and search for iPad or Everyone Can Create, there's a lot of other resources that come up, from photography style to getting started with coding, if you're looking to offer options like that out to your students as well. But a lot of things also get posted into that Apple Teacher Learning community, or with the Apple EDU hashtag as well.
Thank you. I know Shannon recommended, off of one of the posts that I put on Instagram or Twitter, a book on social emotional learning and the Everyone Can Create sort of theme. So it's kind of.
Yeah, I think it was just published this year by a couple of Apple Distinguished Educators.
I think that's so appropriate for this time right now, to focus on this idea of a creation, but also the social emotional learning aspect of remote learning. So definitely some good finds out there on iTunes and in iBooks.
Yeah, and I will find the link for that one as well and put that in. I want to say, I believe it's called Everyone Can Cope, maybe?
Yes, I think that's it.
But I think that's the name of it.
Okay, well, that's pretty much what we have to share. And I know we were going to allow some question and answer time at the end. So if anyone has any questions for us.
Well, I very much appreciate you ladies not only taking the time to join us today, but also curate all of those ideas into a shared resource. Thank you very much for taking care of your own children, taking care of your own jobs, and then hopping on and doing this with us today as well. It's much appreciated.
It's been definitely a fun day of Zoom video calls for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's life now.
Oh, we're like twinsies today. I think I got one.
Same one?
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. We'll have to get you one, Cara. I'm going to drop the link for the PDHs in the chat. I also added in there our idea calendar. We have a couple events coming up later in this week. Tomorrow, we have a book creator webinar, and it is going to be incredible. They've created a bunch of templates that are kind of aligned to both content areas and grade level specific. And I know that Michelle and Cara utilize Book Create a bit. using their Apple tools. So definitely check into that if you are a fan of Book Creator.
Wonder if someone accidentally shared their screen.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
We're all still learning.
Lindsay, if it's okay with you, I can drop the link for the slideshow that we had
That'd be great.
into the chat, and then you can place it anywhere else that you need to, but Cara and I will continue to add to it with some of those resources that we talked about today.
Awesome, thank you. We'll make sure that we email the recording of this webinar as well as the resources out to everybody by tomorrow so that you can revisit and kind of learn on the fly, but also have the resources to share with your teams of teachers if necessary too. So I'll make sure that I stay on. Michelle and Cara, if you wouldn't mind staying on for a little bit longer. If anybody has any questions, you know, we'll be here. But otherwise, we wanted to be mindful of your time, and hopefully you have a great week. And if there's anything you ever need from any of us, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you to everyone that joined us today. I know there's been quite a big push too, and Shannon can correct me if she's still on here, if I'm wrong, but I think even you can go through websites to set up like personalized coaching sessions. Is that right, Shannon? Did you hear that?
I don't see Shannon on here, but there was an
I
email.
thought she was.
Yes, she said yes in the chat.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I know I just saw an email with all the emails that are coming out through the e-learning. I did see that one that caught my eye. So it is, you know, everyone is here to support learners, whether it be your coaches, someone in district, someone on Twitter, or even reaching out to those that work with the devices directly through the Apple stores as well, and the Apple, or I should say the Apple specialists.
Hello.
There we go.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm coming through my iPad or my iPhone right now, but I was trying to pop in a couple different times and you just, but anyways, just want to let you know that I'm all here. I'm here. I got the end of it. I missed earlier because I was dealing with my kids. But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Michelle just said. Anybody, I will send the resource along, but anybody, any teacher can email this email address and have a half hour of one-on-one time with an Apple Professional Learning Specialist to literally help you walk through a lesson. It could be literally anything on your iPad. But so maybe it's the first time you've done a screencast or a clips video or anything, and you just want someone to sit down and kind of practice and walk you through it before you deliver it with students. That is available for free. However, you would like to use that resource. So I'll make sure that Lindsay and Idea kind of have all the other Apple resources for support that are out there. But just wanted to let you all know, just thank you for all the work that you are doing. I myself am trying to work from home with the kids. I can't imagine trying to lead e-learning with my students, with all of you who are parents, and there's just a lot going on right now. So I just wanted to thank every educator out there who is doing their absolute very best that they can during this time. And I just want you all to know that Apple is here to support you, however that might look. So just let us know.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
I guess we will hang out if anyone else has questions. Feel free to chime in. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to reach out to us at any time.